Welcome to Unit 7. Unit 7 begins on page 148, and it talks about food and culture. In this unit, some of the vocabulary is a bit basic. There may be a lot of words that you're already familiar with, but I challenge you to work on pronunciation of these words, practice using these words with irregular verbs and the simple past tense, and work on the rhythm of English that we have been practicing. So there'll be a lot of repeat after me examples. Take a look at the picture on these two pages and think about your answers to these questions. Number 1, what can you see in the photo? There's a lot of strange looking things here, but I see pastries. I see, the heck is that? Some unfamiliar food. Oh, that's familiar. That looks like a chocolate chip cookie. But some of the other food looks a bit unfamiliar. It does not look like food that I'm familiar with, but it looks like some kinds of pastries, chocolates, croissants, and sweet treats with nuts on them. Number 2, do you often buy things like this? In often, the T is silent. Often. Often. Let's practice the rhythm of English that we've been talking about. What are the important words in this question that you need to stress? Probably often, because it's narrowing down when it occurs. And I'll emphasize things. And also this. Work on your TH pronunciation. Things, voiceless. This, voiced. Do you often buy things like this? Repeat after me. Do you often buy things like this? Once again. Do you often buy things like this? Good stress. And number 3, could this photo be from your country? I don't believe this photo is from my country, the United States of America, because it has some strange food that I'm not familiar with. It also has a currency symbol that is not an American dollar sign, and it looks like the writing is not in English. But what do you think about this food? Watch and listen. You are about to watch a video having to do with food in a foreign country. Think about these questions first. What do children like to eat? Do children eat lunch at school in your country? What words am I emphasizing there? Do children eat lunch at school in your country? Children, lunch, school, country. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do children eat lunch at school in your country? Number 3, what is a typical school lunch in your country? And 4, what special or unusual food do people in your country eat? Number 2, look at the pictures from the video and circle the correct answer. Take a look at these photos to help you answer the questions. Pause the video here and then come back to check your work. Number 1, the city looks busy or quiet? This is kind of personal preference, but there are cars on the street, so we're going to say busy. If we were doing a comparison adjective, I would say this city appears busier than my city right now, because there are no cars on the road in my city. Number 2, they children blank their lunch. This is a mistake. Instead of they, it should say the. The children blank their lunch. You probably won't know this from looking at it, but in the video, the children are actually responsible for catching their own lunch. Number 3, the children eat blank for lunch. Again, it's a little unclear from this picture, but believe it or not, those are insects. Those are bugs. You probably know that that's not chicken, so you could guess the other answer. And 4, the children are blank at school. Well, they don't look particularly happy, but they're not crying, so they can't be sad. Let's say they're happy at school. Again, these answers are a little bit hard to tell, but try your best. Glossary. A habit is something that you regularly do. Sometimes in English, the H sound is not pronounced, like herb, H-E-R-B, meaning oregano or parsley. But in this word, habit, the H is pronounced. Habit. Insect, a small creature with 6 legs, such as a bee or a fly. reporter, someone whose job is to find out and talk about news on TV, radio, or in a newspaper. On your own, preview the work on the following page. First, you're writing true or false next to the statements as the video is playing. Then you're to watch the video a second time. Circle the correct answers here. Finally, you're matching the sentence halves, putting 1 with a letter, 2 with another letter, and to result in sentences that make sense. Preview this section on your own first, read over everything, and then press play to watch the video.
Today, this reporter is visiting an elementary school in Thailand. It's in the middle of rice farms and coconut trees. He's interested in food in other cultures. Eating habits start when we are very young. Maybe that's why people in some cultures like to eat insects. Mrs. Noy, the school principal, invited the reporter to help cook lunch for the students. And what are they going to eat? Insects. Every evening, the students have to do their homework, but they also have to catch tomorrow's lunch. Now it's time to get to work in the kitchen. First, they put the insects in hot oil. Then they add special leaves from local plants. Then they fry everything in a big pan so it's safe to eat. The food looks strange to the reporter, but when he tastes it, it tastes pretty normal. Like chicken-flavored potato chips. Lunch is very popular with the students. These children eat insects every day, so it's not unusual for them. In fact, they love it.
Now that you've watched the video 2 times, let's go over the answers. Number 1, the reporter is in Thailand. That is true. Number 2, the students do not do homework, but they have to catch insects. That is false. The students do their homework, so we need to fix this statement. Let's cross out do not. The students do homework, and instead of but, let's make it and. And they have to catch insects. They are required to do both. Number 3, students are eating insects for lunch. That is true. You might have gotten confused with the are eating. This is present progressive tense, meaning it's happening right now. But in the video, this would make sense. The students are eating insects for lunch as the video is playing. And 4, it's unusual for the students to eat insects. This is false, because it is not unusual. Your other fix for this sentence could be to cross out the prefix un. It is usual for the students to eat insects. What's a synonym we could use there? It is normal for the students to eat insects. Number 4, the reporter is interested in food in other cultures. He does learn how to cook, but that's not the reason why he's at the school, and he's not teaching anything to anyone. Number 2, the school principal invited the reporter to help cook lunch. And number 3, the insects are safe to eat because they are cooked in hot oil. What does cooking the insects in hot oil do to make them safer to eat? Well, it probably boils away any germs that are on the insects. Number 5, match the sentence halves. 1, eating insects is common. That would be another synonym for normal and usual. It's common for the students to eat insects. Eating insects is common, B, in Thailand. Notice there's no TH pronunciation. We just call it Thailand. Thailand. Number 2, people eat foods common in their culture. Another way for common. Now, we know that 1 doesn't go with 5 because common would be repeated and that wouldn't make sense. People eat foods that are common in their culture. 3. The students do not think insects are an unusual food. This was a little tricky. It was a double negative. But if you took out not, the students do think insects are a usual food. That makes sense. So unusual, not. Kind of double negative, but there we go. And 4, people in different cultures choose different food. This was another example of using the subject of a sentence and matching it up with the verb conjugation. So even if you didn't know which ending this matched with, people in different cultures. People choose. What prefix can go here? They. People in different cultures, or they choose different food. On page 152, listening 1. Let's move down to section 2. You are going to listen to part of a lecture about food and traditions. Before you listen, read the sentences. Write the words in bold next to the definitions. Let's start with a word that you're probably familiar with. Rice. Rice. Rice is a common food in many cultures. Growing rice is hard work, but millions of people eat it every day. Look at the definitions here to find one for rice. Now we know that it's going to be a noun, and I'll see small, white, and the word grains. This tells me that rice belongs with C. It can be cooked and eaten. Let's go with another simple word that you probably know. Fish. We eat a lot of fish. We live near water. Which one of these definitions matches with fish? Well, we have water. Water. An animal that lives in water and swims using its tail and fins. Use the whole definition to help you. If you know the word tail and none of these other things, meat, international dishes, they have nothing to do with tails and they're not animals, that's a good way of figuring out which word goes where. Pause the video now and do the rest of these on your own. Click play when you're ready to see the answers. Here are the answers for this section. Pronunciation for listening. 7.1 is going to read teen numbers and T numbers. We talked about this in class, so this is a bit of a review. Your job is to listen and identify the difference between both types of pronunciation. Here's 7.1.
$15,000 every month? 17 million? Sorry, how many children? 16? We feed 60 children from poor families here. 50? No, 60.
7.2. Listen to and read these conversations. Circle the numbers you hear.
1,
Is the number of people there about 70 million?
no, I think it's about 17.
17 million? Okay, thanks.
2,
We feed 60 children from poor families here.
Sorry, how many children? 16?
No, 60.
3,
13% of this class are vegetarians, people who don't eat meat.
30? Are you sure?
No, 13.
4,
People in this city eat 15,000 tons of beef every month.
Is that true? 50,000 tons every month?
No, 15,000, not 50.
Here are the answers to 7.2. You can read through it on your own, practicing pronunciation. Remember, if it's a number with a 0 at the end, 70. 70. If it's 17, the teen is usually stressed. The confusion is evident here, especially with the miscommunication. People in this city eat 15,000 tons of beef every month. Is that true? 50,000 tons every month? No, 15,000, not 50. While listening, Traditional. Repeat after me. Traditional. An adjective, doing things the way they have been done for a long time. This is a cognate to Spanish. In 7.3, listen to the lecture. What is the main topic of the lecture? Circle the correct answer. Are they talking mostly about how our grandparents cooked traditional foods, how more international foods are changing the way we eat, or how international foods are good for you? Here's 7.3.
Okay, everyone. So tonight I'd like to talk about traditions and food in the past and present. For example, in the past, meat was expensive or was not available. My grandparents only had meat on special holidays. But now, in the U.S., meat is always available. Americans eat meat about 218 times a year. Are meat dishes as special now? How about in your family? Yes, Rocky.
Well, my grandparents ate a lot of fish.
Uh-huh. Where did they live?
In Japan. They lived by the water, so it was easy to get. Everyone ate fish and rice and vegetables. People made our traditional dishes with that.
Do they still do this today?
Yeah, but today we have foods from everywhere. Italian food is very popular in Japan now.
This is the same in my country, Mexico. 50 years ago, my grandmother cooked traditional dishes at home every day. But now, there are so many international foods available in the supermarket like Middle Eastern, Chinese, or Italian. They're cheap and already prepared, so there's no need to make them.
Class, do you think these international dishes are like the dishes your grandmother made?
No way.
In fact, Jose, do you know how to cook?
No, I never learned. We moved a lot. My parents both worked, so they didn't cook very much. We ate a lot of fast food. You know, burgers and fries. It wasn't very healthy, I know.
Okay, so let me take a quick survey. How many of you know how to cook? 13. No, only 14 students out of 30. Wow. Can any of you cook traditional dishes? Only 20%. I guess this isn't a surprise. So, what do you think? Now that we have so many foods available from around the world, do you think it's good or bad for our traditions?
Let's see. What was the main idea or the main topic? Well, the lecture did mention how grandparents cooked traditional foods, but that was only mentioned as a detail, not the main topic. It wasn't mentioned in the beginning, so it's probably not what this lecture was focusing on. B, how more international foods are changing the way we eat. Yes, they definitely talked about this. Let's read C and make sure it's not the correct answer. How international foods are good for you. A synonym for good would be healthy. Did they talk about the health value of international foods? No, not particularly. So the correct answer is B. Now that we've identified the main idea of 7.3, I'll play it for you again in the video. This time write true or false for each statement here and work on listening for numbers. You often hear facts in lectures. Many facts are about numbers. Remember the stress. There are 4D students in the class. In Argentina, 97% of the people can read and write. Write the number you hear next to each phrase. Preview this information first so you know what you're listening for. Here's 7.3. Again.
Okay, everyone. So tonight I'd like to talk about traditions and food in the past and present. For example, in the past, meat was expensive or was not available. My grandparents only had meat on special holidays. But now, in the U.S., meat is always available. Americans eat meat about 218 times a year. Are meat dishes as special now? How about in your family? Yes, Rocky.
Well, my grandparents ate a lot of fish.
Uh-huh. Where did they live?
In Japan. They lived by the water, so it was easy to get. Everyone ate fish and rice and vegetables. People made our traditional dishes with that.
Do they still do this today?
Yeah, but today we have foods from everywhere. Italian food is very popular in Japan now.
This is the same in my country, Mexico. 50 years ago, my grandmother cooked traditional dishes at home every day. But now, there are so many international foods available in the supermarket like Middle Eastern, Chinese, or Italian. They're cheap and already prepared, so there's no need to make them.
Class, do you think these international dishes are like the dishes your grandmother made?
No way.
In fact, Jose, do you know how to cook?
No, I never learned. We moved a lot. My parents both worked, so they didn't cook very much. We ate a lot of fast food. You know, burgers and fries. It wasn't very healthy, I know.
Okay, so let me take a quick survey. How many of you know how to cook? 13. No, only 14 students out of 30. Wow! Can any of you cook traditional dishes? Only 20%. I guess this isn't a surprise. So, what do you think? Now that we have so many foods available from around the world, do you think it's good or bad for our traditions?
Let's review the answers. Exercise 5, number 1. Meat was always available in the U.S. This is false. Meat was not always available in the U.S., so it caused people to be creative with their recipes. 2 through 4 are all true. 5 is false because, in fact, instead of most of the students know how to cook, it was not many of the students know how to cook. The teacher expressed their shock when this was revealed. Listening for numbers, the first answer, repeat after me, 218. Number 2, 50. 50. Remember, it's a D sound at the end. 50. Number 3, 14. 14. Stressing the teen. And number 4, 20. 20. Same as number 2, 50, 20. Now we're moving on to the simple past. This is on page 155. And they give a brief review. Remember that the simple past usually uses ed at the end, or if it's a verb that ends in e, just add a d. My grandmother cooked traditional dishes. We lived in a big city 10 years ago. These are all events that have already happened in the past. To state a negative statement, add did not or didn't before the base form of the verb. My grandmother didn't cook traditional dishes. What's the base form of the verb here? Cook. She did not cook. We didn't live in a big city 10 years ago. So this is the affirmative. This is the negative. Number 1, write the verb in the simple past. Let's do this together. We live in Mexico 10 years ago. What tense is live? Present tense. They're not saying they currently live. They're saying in the past they used to live. We lived. Just add the D. My mom cooked Italian food a lot. I not cook last night. Remember, always go back to the box to help you. Did not cook. There it is. I did not cook last night. And 4, my grandfather worked in a restaurant. For yes, no questions and short answers, a common problem that I see is the did or didn't. Don't forget this word. Many times Spanish speakers will ask, You eat dinner last night? Grammatically, you need the did. Did you eat dinner last night? This is different from the direct translation from Spanish, so pay special attention to did or didn't. On the next page, answer the questions so they are true for you. When you were a child, did you live in a big city? No, I didn't live in a big city. I lived in a small town. Go ahead and complete this on your own. Number 2, did both of your parents work? If you want to say no to this, no, what's the subject? Both of, we're changing that to my, both of my parents, and if it's negative, did not work. 3, did your grandmother cook traditional dishes? If it's yes, yes. My grandmother, change cook to past tense, cooked traditional dishes, etc. Go ahead and do the rest on your own, making them true for you. So it could be yes, it could be no. It's whichever is true for you. Exercise 3, write the questions in the simple past. 1, have a traditional meal last night? Don't forget, did you have a traditional meal last night? Number 2, eat at a fast food restaurant this week? Same thing. Did you eat at a fast food restaurant this week? Cook dinner last week? Did you cook dinner last week? And not eat lunch yesterday. This is a bit tricky, it's word order. Did you not eat lunch yesterday? I know you're thinking you could probably make didn't with did and not, but remember we're adding did you first and then we're finishing with the information that the question provides. Did you not eat lunch? If you take out not, did you eat lunch yesterday? Not goes after the you. Did you not eat lunch? Because it comes before the verb. Be careful of irregular verbs. These are some examples. They do not have the added ed or d ending. If you wanted to say buy in the past, did you buy stays the same because it's the root word. Did you buy shoes? Yes, I bought shoes. For did you buy, the did is telling us that it was in the past, so we don't need to change the verb. The answer is saying, yes, I bought shoes. Bought is telling us it's in the past. You would not say, did you bought shoes? That is incorrect because you already have did for past and bought for past. That's redundant. You don't need 2 clues to tell you that it's past tense. Did you buy shoes? And the answer would be yes, I bought shoes. So remember, you only need 1 word to tell you whether it was past tense, and that's what we use here. Finally, complete the top of page 157. Write the verbs in the simple past. Again, watch out for irregulars. And if you need help, always use these red boxes. If you have a question, they provide the answers. Pause the video here, try your best on 1 through 8, and press play to see the answers. Here are the answers. Practice repeating the sentences after me. 1. No, I did not make special dishes for the party. Pause the video and repeat the sentence. We're stressing, no, I did not make special dishes for the party. Try to do it rhythmically. No, I did not make special dishes for the party. You try. Number 2, he ate a lot of fish in Japan. Fish, Japan. Watch out that ate is irregular. That's on this grid over here. Eat, ate. He ate a lot of fish in Japan. You try. He ate a lot of fish in Japan. Number 3. She bought a lot of food at the supermarket. She bought a lot of food at the supermarket. Say it with me when I say it the second time. No, it was too expensive, so people didn't eat it very much. This is a long sentence, but we can still try to say it rhythmically. Be is an irregular, turns to was. Let's try it together. Ready? No, it was too expensive, so people didn't eat it very much. Number 5. No, she did not do any cooking when she was visiting her family. 6. This vegetable came from South America. Notice the pitch. I'm stressing America. 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 Go up in the middle. This vegetable came from South America. We did not have time to cook last night, so we went to a restaurant. Not have, that's the negative. We did not have, not coming before the base verb. We went to a restaurant. Went is irregular. And finally, I read an interesting cookbook about Mexican food last night. Read is an irregular, but they're pronounced differently. Present tense is read, long E. Past tense is red, kind of like the color, red. I read an interesting cookbook about Mexican food last night. Usually when it's a sentence like this, you need some kind of clue as to which pronunciation it is. Is it read or is it read? If we didn't have last night, I read an interesting cookbook about Mexican food. That could be present tense, so we need to specify that it occurred in the past. We're going to pause there, and we will continue on page 157 for bookwork next week. Great job, everybody. I'll see you then.